Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to you, wherever you are in the world. I am Jim Piaski, Senior Business Development Director for Hawk International. It is my pleasure to welcome you to our webinar today, FMAA Certification, Insights and Comprehensive Review. Thank you for attending. First, I'd like to start by going over our agenda today and then welcoming our special guests. So in our agenda today, first we'll have Ella Supanitsky, who is the VP of Certification for ICMA, give brief welcome. Then we'll talk through what is FMAA and who is it for. We'll discuss the FMAA exam structure, discuss study tools that you can use to help prepare yourself for the exam, provide you an overview of Hawk's learning system and materials we have available to help you get ready and pass, learn a little bit about the subscription model and our free trial, and then end with question and answer from you. So at this time, I would like to introduce Ella Supanitsky, Vice President of Certification from IMA and ICMA. Ella, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much, Jim, and thank you, everyone. I'm very excited that I'll have a few minutes to say a few words about this new exciting certification. But before I do that, I really want to thank Hawk International, our very loyal partner who's been helping us over the years, to advance management accounting profession and to make a difference in people's lives by preparing candidates to succeed on very rigorous examinations like CMA, Certified Management Accountant, CSCA, our specialty credential, and now this brand new and very exciting certification, FMAA. I thank you very much for all your hard efforts. Together we make a difference. And you will hear a lot about the FMAA, which is Financial and Managerial Accounting Credential, and I'm sure all your questions will be answered. What I really want to say is that we're very excited about this certification for various reasons. The main reason is that what we hear from the market today is that this knowledge, this ability to be fluent in the language of business, which is financial and managerial accounting, is extremely important today. Employers are looking to hire people who have such knowledge. And obtaining this certification will really help you stand out from your peers. It will also make you confident. It will teach you how to interpret financial statements. It will teach you about the debits and credits of the business transactions. But most importantly, it will teach you about professional ethics. So I will not spend much more time promoting this. I truly believe it's an excellent product that will open many doors. And all I just want to do is wish you the best of success. And again, thank you, Hawk International, for being our partner. And good luck to you all, and have a very happy and prosperous new year. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Ella. It really is our pleasure to have you join us here today, and it's been great to work with you over the last several months on launching the FMAA and over the last couple of decades as we worked towards helping people get certified in their areas. So we appreciate all of your hard work, and thank you for your partnership.
Thank you.
So next, I will introduce our main speaker for today, Brian Hawk. But before I do that, I'd like to talk a little bit about our webinar. So you'll find at the bottom of the webinar, there is a place to ask questions. So you can type those in. I know sometimes on webinars, you might want to use that chat feature, but we have that disabled for the question and answer today. So please, if you do have any questions, click that Q&A button at the bottom and type those in, and we'll have some time at the end to answer those for you. So without any further ado, I would like to introduce Brian Hawk, who is our speaker today. Brian is a CMA, a CSCA, CIA, and CRMA, and founder and president of Hawk International. Over the past 20 plus years, Brian has been working on helping students pass their certification exams, specifically in accounting, finance, tax, and similar areas. And I think many of you know him or have seen him or read his books throughout the years. And really, it is my honor to introduce Brian. You can see the QR code on the screen. If anybody wants to connect with him on LinkedIn, feel free to do so. But otherwise, Brian, thank you so much for joining us. We're glad to have you here today and look forward to a great webinar.
Thank you, Jim, and thank you, Ella, for participating and starting us off. Good evening to everyone. Good afternoon, good morning. I know we've got people from around the world, and so I know we have all the different time zones. I thank you very much for giving us a little bit of your time to talk about FMAA and what it is as a certification, your potential interest in it, and what it can do for you. I'm going to try to talk through and answer as many of the questions that I think you may have as I go through the presentation, but I'm sure there will be some questions that I missed that I don't answer. And so as Jim said, you can just type them into the Q&A at the bottom. I see that some people have already started doing that. And whatever we don't answer, I'll try to answer at the end. And if we still don't get to it, please send us an email. We'll have an email address at the end that you can reach out to us, and we'll be happy to answer whatever questions that you have. But we'll go ahead and we'll get started with a very simple starting point. What is FMAA? It is the Financial Managerial Accounting Associate certification. That is a new one. It's issued by IMA. As everyone, I expect a lot of people know, IMA is the CMA organization. And so this is a new offering that I'm very excited about. I was very excited about it when I heard about it, and we've been working towards putting the materials together for it. I think that this is a certification that provides a very wonderful opportunity for the people that it's intended for. And so that leads right into the next question. And this is, who is FMAA for? And I can see already in some of the questions that have come in, one of the questions is, how does this compare to CMA? Is this for CMA and all of that? So let's go ahead and start with this as to who FMAA is for. There's a few different groups of people that we see as a good audience for FMAA and a group that will benefit greatly from having FMAA. What I list here is not complete. I'm sure there's a lot of other individuals and groups of people that will find this to be very beneficial. But we need to keep in mind that from a content standpoint, this is at a slightly lower level than CMA. And I'll show a little bit later in a slide that most of the content that's on FMAA is on CMA. It is on CMA. And so there's a connection between the two. But this is looking at the more foundational levels of the topics that are included from the CMA exam. And so we see this as very good for recent graduates, college students, those that are still in university that are looking to start into the professional certification. Even if you are looking at CMA as what you ultimately want to do, and this is if you're a university professor looking at your students or a university student and you think CMA is something that I want to do, it's where I want to go. Well, FMAA is a great way to start that process. So we're looking at university students, recent graduates that are just starting their career, that are looking for a way to get that first certification, to be able to demonstrate that they have a commitment to the profession, that they have the skills and the knowledge to progress within an organization. We have to be realistic that when you get hired and you're in your first job, there's a lot of people at that same level, and not everybody's going to be promoted up through the organization. And so you need to find a way to make yourself different and to show that you have the skills and the knowledge to succeed as you get promoted through the organization. And a great first way to do that is FMAA. One of the reasons I see FMAA as a really good first certification for somebody who's in that entry-level job is because it will be able to be done more quickly. If we talk about CMA, especially somebody that doesn't have a lot of experience, that might be an 18 or a 2-month or 18-month or a 2-year process to study CMA, to pass the exams, and then you have to have your 2 years of experience to get CMA certification. FMAA is able to be done much, much more quickly. Okay, it's something that the first exam window is in March. We're already in the middle of December, but it is absolutely realistic to start studying now and to be ready for that March exam. And so the fact that it's going to be a few months process, maybe a little bit later, you take 4 or 6 months for it, it's much quicker than CMA. And so you will be able to go to your employer, you'll be able to go to that interview and say, this is what I already have. Okay, so entry-level career, university students, another group that we think that this will be good for are people that are outside the field of accounting or finance, but are trying to get promoted into the manager levels. And we know from talking to people that even if you're not in accounting or finance, if you're in marketing, if you're in management, if you're in some other area, having a basic understanding of financial statements is important. And so if you're there and you're going up the marketing ladder, or you're going up the logistics management or something like that, and you think, I really need to understand better how what I'm doing fits into the larger organization, FMAA is a very good, realistic way to get that certification that shows people, I do understand the larger picture of the organization. I do understand how what I'm doing fits into the large organization, and start to have those skills for management. So those are some of the different groups that we see having a potential interest in FMAA. But let's then go to kind of the next question, and that is, will it help me get a job? And the answer to that is yes, it will. I understand that it's new, and I understand that if you go out into your websites and your job searches and you look at the requirements for positions, you're not going to see FMAA listed anywhere right now as a requirement for a position, or even a preferred certification for a position. But that's okay. That's okay. That's going to come. FMAA is done by IMA. The business community, the recruiting community, the HR community knows IMA, they know CMA. And so this is going to get that recognition very, very quickly, because it's coming from IMA and it still has that gold standard of an international professional organization behind it. So when you go to an interview, it's very likely that when you say to the person, I'm FMAA, they don't know what it is. That's okay. You have that opportunity in the interview to communicate to them what it is, the skills that you learned as a result of it, the things that you're able to do as a result of it. And you're able to not only educate that person that you're interviewing, but demonstrate to them your ability to communicate. Okay, we talk about even with CMA. Once you get CMA, it doesn't automatically mean you're going to get a job. You still have to go through the interview process and demonstrate you have the skills necessary to perform. And one of those skills is communication. So in the process of talking to the person who's interviewing you about FMAA, you're also demonstrating to them your ability to communicate, your ability to present information, which is going to be part of whatever job it is that you are interviewing for. So yes, having FMAA will help you get a job. It's not going to be a golden invitation, and it's not going to be an automatic job for you, but having FMAA will separate you from everyone else who's applying for this position that does not have any type of qualification. It will help you. Now, if you're already a CMA, if you're already ACCA or CIMA qualified, getting FMAA is not going to assist you. It's not going to be an additional benefit to you, because, as I said, FMAA covers some of what is on the CMA exam. And so you don't want to get a certification that essentially tests only part of what you're already certified in. But if you're at that entry-level position, you're at that university level looking for a job, FMAA will absolutely help you get a job. And it's only a matter of time before those job requirements start listing FMAA as preferred or required. It's going to happen because IMA is IMA, and they're going to help the world recognize it. But also, when you're FMAA and you have those skills, you're going to do your job better than the people that don't have what you've learned in FMAA. You're going to do your job better. So when they promote you and they need to replace you, they're going to want somebody who's FMAA qualified, because they want the same skills that you brought when you came to that job. So yes, FMAA will help you get a job. It's not automatic. You still need to do well in the interview, and you still need to demonstrate you have the skills, but it will certainly be a plus for you. So what are the eligibility requirements? We'll talk about this from two standpoints. One is an initial eligibility requirement, and then what is it that you need to do to maintain your certification? The initial eligibility requirement is essentially that you pay to register. Okay, you pay to register for the exam. There is no educational requirement. There is no experience requirement. And so while you're still in university, you are eligible. If you graduated from a 2-year program, you have some sort of associate's degree, you are eligible for this. So the eligibility, it's very open. Okay, it's very easy. It's inclusive in terms of its eligibility requirements. After you pass, you will have to maintain that certification, just like any other certification. There will be a CPE requirement. There will be a requirement to get an ethics CPE as part of that. And there will be a small fee that will be required to maintain FMAA, but that's what it should be. That's part of a professional organization and part of the certification process. And so that's not going to be a huge amount, but there is an element that you're going to need to do to in those CPE requirements to maintain your certification. So the next question then is, will you get any exemptions if you pass FMAA? If you pass FMAA, do you get any exemptions from CMA, ACCA, CIMA, CPA, or anything like that? The answer is no, you don't get any exemptions, but you've already studied for some of those elements that are in CMA and whatever other certifications there are. For example, and I'll demonstrate, I'll show this in a more detail in a slide later, but in FMAA, ratios are covered. Ratio analysis is covered in FMAA, but not to the extent and not to the depth that it is on CMA. So when you study FMAA and pass FMAA, you don't get an exemption from CMA, but you've already studied quite a bit of the content that's on the CMA exam. And so when you go to study CMA, studying those ratios will be very easy. And you'll be able to focus your attention on the higher level ratios that are in CMA, but not FMAA. So you don't get an exemption. You still have to take the CMA exams, but the study process is easier for you because you have already done some of the studying for the topics that are on the CMA exam. And you're not going to get an exemption, but the study process is going to be a little bit easier. Another common question is, if you pass FMAA, are you eligible for CMA? Does passing FMAA make you eligible for CMA? And the answer to that right now is no, it does not. Passing FMAA does not automatically provide you eligibility to take the CMA exam. That's what it is right now. That may or may not change in the future. But right now, it does not provide that eligibility. You still need to prove your eligibility for CMA as you do right now. Okay, so let's talk about the structure. What is the FMAA exam and what does it made up of? It is one exam. It is 2 hours. And actually, I believe it's 2 hours and 20 minutes. I think I made a slight mistake there. Whatever it is. And there are 80 MCQs. There are 80 MCQs on the exam. And so a little over a minute a question. Very doable. Very, very doable. It's not really an issue at all. It is going to be available in March of 2024. And when we say March of 2024, we mean March 1st to March 31st. That is the initial exam window. After that exam window is over in March, the exam will be temporarily closed. IMA is going to go through and kind of make certain that everything works like they thought it was going to work and all the questions are good questions and all of those things. And then it will be opened up again. Right now, the expectation, and this is not an official answer, but the expectation is that the next window will be in July of 2024. And ultimately, this is something that's going to become on more of a rolling admission, kind of an ongoing basis. And so that's what we're looking at for this. And the time is 2 hours. The slide, I don't know where I got 2 hours and 20 minutes, but the slide is correct. It is 2 hours, the time frame for that. Right now, the exam is given in Prometric centers, just like CMA. And so you'll have to register for a time in March to take your exam, and we'll come back to the fees here in a little bit as well. There are 5 sections to the exam. They are Section A, General Accounting and Financial Management is 25%. Financial Statement Preparation and Analysis is also 25%. Planning and Budgeting is 20%. The Cost Management and Performance Metrics is 20%. And Professional Ethics is 10%. So these are the 5 sections to the exam and the weight of each of them. The learning outcome statements are prepared and available. And so all of that same wonderful detailed LOS that exists for the CMA exam exists also for the FMAA exam. That's what we've used to prepare our materials and how it is that we know our materials are are correct and lined up with the syllabus. As I said, a lot of the syllabus is connected to the CMA exam and matches to the CMA exam. And so Section A includes internal controls, which is in Part 1, Section E of the CMA exam, and it also includes working capital management, basics of working capital management, not the full working capital management, which is in Part 2, Section B of CMA. Section A of FMAA is the one section that includes new content. In Section A is bookkeeping, debits, credits, the trial balance, how we make certain that our balance sheet balances and all of that. That is a big part of Section A. That's what's not on the CMA exam, but is in FMAA. Okay? And this fact that there's a big element in Section A that is bookkeeping is going to make a big determination of how much time you need to study for FMAA. And we'll come back to that a little bit later. But if you're already familiar with bookkeeping, well, that's going to be a review for you. If you're coming from outside accounting or you haven't had that class yet, then it's going to take you a little bit longer to study that. But Section A. Section B has financial accounting and ratios. Again, not all of the same financial accounting in CMA, not all of the ratios that are from CMA. Section C of the FMAA exam is budgeting, connects to the budgeting section that's in the CMA exam. Section D of FMAA is costing and performance measures. That's out of Part 1 of the CMA exam. And Section E is ethics, which is Section F of the Part 2 CMA exam. Again, the ethics that's tested on FMAA is not the same as on CMA. The costing and performance measures that's on FMAA is the introduction. It's the foundation levels of what is tested on CMA. I'll give you an example. In FMAA, variance analysis is covered for direct materials and direct labor and fixed overheads. On FMAA, there is nothing about sales variances. There's nothing about variances with multiple inputs when we have multiple classes of labor or multiple materials that are going into it. So within FMAA, it's those foundational level topics that are built on further in CMA. So this answers the question that it's been asked. We've had it if somebody has CMA, should you do FMAA? No, you don't need to. You've already done it. Okay, it's not adding anything. It would be kind of the foundational certificate to the certificate you already have. So this is the exam. The content is very good. I like the content. I think it's practical, it's relevant, just like CMA. I think it's a great foundation skills for people to go into that entry-level job and succeed and demonstrate to their superiors, their bosses, their supervisors, that they know what's going on in the company. Being aware of how your position fits into the larger organization. So now I want to turn our attention a little bit to the study tools that we have, and I'll show them briefly, some of them. We have a full set of materials. We have an online textbook, a test bank. We will have videos. They're in the process right now. We have a mock exam for this, and we have our full PassMap study system and the personal study planner. If any of you are familiar with our CMA learning system, it is the same system for FMAA. All of those features and functions are in the FMAA system as well. This is all available. As I said, the videos are going to be coming every couple of days. More videos will be posted. But this is already, you can start studying. And so, like I said, we have this in our PassMap, our learning system, and it's all built out. So the question is, how long do you need to study? How long do you need to plan on studying for the exam? It's going to be different for each person. I would recommend that you go into this in your mind with 100 hours as what you expect it's going to be. 100 hours is what your kind of planning and budgeting should be based on. I know that for some of you, it will be less than that. And for some of you, it will be more than that. Like I said, a big one will come down to your familiarity with the debits and credits of accounting. If you have good experience with the debits and credits of accounting, then you're going to go through Section A much more quickly than somebody who needs to learn that content. Based on your experience, if you're coming to this with a year or two, couple years of experience on the job, you may be really familiar with budgeting. You may be really familiar with variance analysis. And so some topics you may go through very quickly. But other topics, it may take you some more time. So have in mind 100 hours. And as you then do more and more studying, you can kind of adjust that as necessary when you get kind of to the reality of what it is that is happening. What I want to do now is I'm going to try to do that. I'm going to switch from sharing the slideshow. I want to spend just a couple of minutes showing the learning system that we have, so that you can see a little bit what it is that we have. And so hopefully what you're seeing now is the pass map. Of course, it's our online browser, and what I have it set up here too is the personal study plan and how this works. So you're going to be able to put in the day you plan to take the exam. And I put in March 20th here because that was the day last year that I passed the CSCA exam. And so I decided that that would be a good day for me to put into the system here for FMAA. But as we put in this date, it builds out the rest of our study system, our study process. So it tells me right now that based on what I've already studied, I need to study 8 hours per week in order to be ready to take my exam on March 20th. And I can sit here right now and I can say, oh, 8 hours is okay. I can do that. That's my plan right now. And as you study, this number will change. As you get ahead or fall behind, this number is going to stay, it's going to adjust for that. It goes down and it tells me what study units I need to be studying in the upcoming 7 days. These are the study units that I need to be completing. I've already done the first 7 units, and so it thinks that the next unit I need to study is Unit 8. It gives me an estimated time for how long it's going to take me to study each of these study units. And I can get a list down here of what it is that I've already studied, okay, what I've already marked as complete. And then I'll show you very quickly here a study unit. All of the study units are built out the same way. We have a wonderful online textbook that allows you to take notes and sort your notes. It's a wonderful, powerful study tool, and we've got a video about how it is that you can use this. But we have the textbook, we have the videos for this topic, and there's a few videos here about accounts receivable valuation, inventory valuation. We have the practice questions for this topic. And then we have a link to our forum if you have any questions that you want to ask, if you want to look and see what other questions other people have asked about this topic, that's very easy for you to do. And so we have this all set up. We call it Pass Map because that's really what it is. It's a map to passing. We have all the study units as you go from one study unit to the next. Those study units all connect the content, the textbook, the videos, and the MCQs, all for that one study unit. They all go right, they're all right there for you. It keeps track of it. You mark it's completed. The system knows you've completed it. Very, very easy to use and very self-guiding. It's built for you and guides you through that. So we've got videos about how to use PassMap, and so I won't spend a lot of time on that. I will go back now, I hope, to the slideshow. Hopefully this is the slideshow again. Again, how many hours you're going to study will be based on you and what it is that you have already. So I guess the one thing still to talk about is how much does all of this cost? What is the cost of doing this? All of our materials are set up on a subscription basis now. And so you subscribe only for as long as you need the materials. You don't need to purchase it. This is something that you may only need for 2 months. If you start studying now and you take the exam in early March, you're 2 or 3 months is all the time that you need to do this. And so we want you to be able to limit your costs as well. So a nice monthly subscription. When you subscribe, you get a 3-day free trial. So you can go in and you can look and you can see Do you like listening to me for the videos? Do you like the way that the system is set up? You have that opportunity for free to look and to make certain it's going to work for you. And then it's every month. You get charged the subscription. We have a discount right now of a $49 a month price. Okay, so $49 a month is what the cost of materials will be. We can do the simple math. If you do it for 3 months, that is $147 for materials. We then have exam registration, and there's a few numbers here. The standard price for the exam is $299. Right now, IMA has a discount that it's available for $249, and that will be available in January. If you pay for your exam registration through Hawk, the price is $239. And so there's a $10 savings there. If you register, if you're a Hawk, you have to be a Hawk subscriber. If you are using our materials, we give you an additional $10 discount on your exam fee as well. So if you do the math and putting all of this together, if you have a $239 exam fee, and you pay $147 for the textbooks, the videos, the questions, the mock exam, and all of that, the total cost for FMAA is less than $400. Okay, the total cost, materials, registration, is less than $400 for FMAA. Now, if you were to take and compare that to any other certification, it is a very realistic number, a much more realistic number. And this comes back to being inclusive and being available. This is as I said at the beginning, a shorter time frame to be taking FMAA and to be completing FMAA. CMA might take you 2 years. FMAA might take you 3 months. And also the financial investment is much smaller as well. And so if you're at the start of your career, you're at university and you're looking at CMA and you think, wow, I'd really like to do that, but wow, that's a lot. It costs a lot. FMAA is a way to start that process. You make a much smaller investment. You get your certification much sooner. You pass the exam, you get your certification while you would still be studying for part 1 of CMA. You get that certification, you're able to take that to an interview, you're able to take that to your employer. And then when you start studying for CMA, the study process will be much easier because you've already done a lot of that studying as part of the FMAA exam. Okay, so a wonderful starting certification for your career, a wonderful foundation to build into CMA and to make that study process for CMA a little bit less. I know that there are a lot of questions and answers that have already been posted, and I think Jim has already answered some of them, and I may have answered some of them. So what I want to do is I'm going to give the microphone back to Jim, and Jim will talk very briefly about the next webinar that we know that will be available for information about FMAA. And that is one that IMA is going to be having in the month of January. And so, Jim, I'll give it to you and I'll start looking through the questions a little bit.
Great. Thank you very much, Brian. One webinar that I'd like to introduce is actually being presented by IMA, and it will go through in more detail some of the things Brian talked about, but focus more on the content of the exam, as well as a lot of your questions about the pricing fees and the requirements for taking it. Anyway, it will be presented on January 18th, 2024 at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So that's New York time. It's called Open the Door to Your Future, Introducing the FMAA Certification. So join us for that engaging conversation. Just like this session, we'll provide some different information about the FMAA, allow you to ask your questions and get those answers to the questions that you have, maybe as you're studying and preparing for the exam. So on the screen, you'll see a QR code. You can click on that QR code, or you can register at the link below. There's a bit.ly link, bit.ly/FMAA certification. And that will help you to register for this webinar provided by IMA. Just a quick answer to questions that I see that are flowing through the Q&A here. And remember that you can type your questions in if you have more. This webinar is being recorded and will be sent out to everybody who is registered. If you haven't registered with your email address or you want to give us that, please let us know. But we will also post it on our website, and we will share that information for you following this session. And with that, we will move on to the question and answer part. I'll invite Brian to come back. I know he only had a few minutes here to look through some, but let me get started with one question that I saw, Brian, and we can go from there. So if I've already purchased materials for the CMA exam, so I have some older questions, are they appropriate to help me study for the new FMAA certification? Will they be helpful or not?
Some of them would be helpful. The problem with using CMA materials to study for FMAA is you run the risk of studying too much. You run the risk of doing questions or studying content that is on the CMA exam, but not on the FMAA exam. And so the downside to that is you spend a lot more time studying potentially than you need to, but extra knowledge is always good. And so it's not a terrible thing that you studied more than you needed to for the FMAA exam. But yes, that's, yeah, the CMA material would be very helpful. Just make certain you don't study too much.
Great. And also make sure that the material that you're studying is the most up to date. Sometimes there are questions that get retired or changed as they progress through. So make sure you're studying the right content as well.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for that, Brian. There's quite a few questions that people ask about, is the FMAA better or worse than other qualifications? And you touched on that a little bit, but there are some certifications that it may be more similar to in the world. So I think about the SEMA exams, for example. They have a lot of papers that cover different content. And then also we have some other certifications available like EA. Are things like that helpful? Are they similar or different? Can you explain that easily and
I think
order that they would take those in?
FMAA does not compare to SEMA or ACCA as a whole, but I think that the comparison would be that FMAA covers some of those early papers in ACCA and SEMA. Clearly not all of the papers and clearly not the detailed case studies at the end and things like that, but there will be some overlap at the early papers. Somebody I saw mentioned, and you mentioned enrolled agent. Enrolled agent, for those who don't know, is a U.S. tax certification. And I think that FMAA would be a certification that enrolled agents may want to take a look at from the standpoint of, if you have your own business, if you have your own tax practice, or you're interested in doing that, and you want to have a fundamental idea about the accounting that goes with that, or if you want to demonstrate to your clients that you are continuing to learn and you are continuing to grow as a professional, I think FMAA would be a very nice addition for enrolled agents. It demonstrates your commitment to business. Just kind of, you're in a position to understand your client's business perhaps and have a better sense of how all of that goes into taxes. And so this is, I said, for people that were outside of accounting or finance, FMAA is a nice entry into it. And enrolled agents would be one of those, I think, that might want to look at FMAA as having a lot of value. I see a couple of questions about, if you're doing CMA, should you do FMAA? And the answer is probably not. If you're studying CMA and you're having a lot of difficulty and there's a lot of topics that are challenging for you, you might want to take a look at the FMAA syllabus. But if you've passed part 1 and you're most of the way through part 2, you just need to continue with your CMA and finish that.
Great. So talking a little bit about who it's good for, I don't think you've mentioned academics yet. Is this something that's only for professionals, or would academicians find this valuable too?
Professors and academics, if you don't have any certifications, yes, it probably would be a good starting point into certifications for you. If you're already a PhD and a CPA and ACCA qualified, then this isn't one that you need to add. But if you're an academic and you're looking for something for your students as well, I think FMAA is a very good certification to recommend to university students. And again, it may be that you have a wonderful accounting program and your university students are really well prepared for CMA. the thing to keep in mind is, as a university student, do they have the time and the commitment to put towards passing CMA? Whereas FMAA is something that they'd be able to do a lot more easily during their senior year, their junior year at university, and would be able to go out into the interview process with FMAA, not I'm in the process of studying for CMA, but that they've actually completed FMAA.
Sure. There are a couple process questions, I guess. One about the passing score for the exam, and if you know about future exam windows past March.
Okay. In terms of the passing score, this is something that's like CMA. It's not a magic 75% or 72% is what is required. It goes into that scaled score process again. I don't believe that IMA has said what, I mean, they don't say for CMA either. I would have in mind 75%. If you get 60 of the 80 questions correct, I fully expect that you will pass the exam. Maybe 59, 58, 57 as well will be a scaled score that will be passing. But if you just have in your mindset as you're going through and you're practicing 75% as a minimum, 75% as a minimum is going to get you through the exam. In terms of the next exam window, that hasn't been announced yet formally. The expectation is that it will be July of 2024.
Okay, a couple more process questions. Are calculators allowed, and are there calculations that are part of the exam?
Yes, there are calculations. There's calculations in budgeting. There's calculations in the ratios. The calculator policy is the same as CMA exam. So you can take a basic calculator, and looking at my desk, the one on my desk, this is not allowed. Okay, this is actually too complicated of a calculator, but you're allowed a very basic calculator, and that's all you need. All you need is plus, minus, divide, and multiply. You don't need a financial calculator for this at all.
Thank you for going through some of the different materials that you have available online. Some people really prefer to study with a hard copy textbook. Will that be available?
It will be. It's not available yet. I would expect that sometime in January we will do that. One of the ways that the textbook is available for parts of the world is through Amazon. Our CMA, CSCA, CIA books are available through Amazon, and we'll put FMAA there as well. And I know that we have a large group in India, and we're looking to find a cost-effective way of printing hard copies in India. So at this moment in time, no, there is not a hard copy available. That will change in the future. But please, if use the online textbook before you make a decision to purchase the hard copy. The online textbook is a very good tool and a good way of taking notes and things like that.
Great. There have been a couple of questions. Can they start studying right away? Are the materials available right now, and how do they access those?
Yep, you can start right now. You can sign up, start your 3-day free trial, and start studying right now. As I said, the videos are not there yet, but they will be dropped in as they are recorded and polished off and published. And that'll start happening, every couple of days. More videos will be added until we're done with that.
Great. So there's also some questions about the fees. Again, I don't know if you want to go back to that fee page or not, if you can do that. If not, it's okay. So people are asking about the cost right now of our materials. We have a subscription that's on discount. What is the full price when that goes back to normal price?
Yeah.
And then what are the additional costs of maintaining the certification? Do they have to pay membership fees to IMA? Are there recertification fees involved? Things like that.
For us, the regular price is $79 a month, but I know that we're going to keep the $49 price for at least a little while longer. And also with us, when you subscribe, that's the price you keep for as long as you subscribe. And so if you sign up now at $49 and in a month it becomes $149, you keep your original price when you subscribed. And so you don't need to worry about the price going up after you subscribe because you keep that same subscription. The cost to register for the exam, If you're a Hawk student and you're subscribed to our materials, the cost is $239. $239 is the registration fee to take the exam. I saw somebody said that it's not available on Prometric yet, and that is correct. It will become available in January officially to be able to register for it. Right now, you cannot register for the exam yet. That will come in January. So we're just starting the study process before it is that we get, before we're able to register. After you've passed FMAA, there will be an annual fee. IMA has not announced yet what that fee is going to be, but I know it's going to be less than the annual IMA membership, from what I understand. So there will be a fee, but it will not be a huge fee. Again, the question about examination windows, right now it's March, and then it's expected the next one to be in July. And I believe sometime soon after that, it's going to go to be an open enrollment. And so it will essentially be available throughout the year in the Prometric testing centers.
Great, thank you very much. I think there's some more questions, and if you could just explain again or a little bit more about the qualifications. I think there are a lot of people trying to decide, should I do the FMAA or should I go for CMA? Do you think there's a number of years of experience or certain jobs that people might be working in, or if they're graduating from university? Like, is there a suggested path for you in general?
For me, I know that one of the questions about which one you should do first, really, I think comes down to the time period in terms of how long it would take to do it. And let's pretend that right now you're sitting there, you've not done anything, and you're deciding on FMA or CMA. What should you do first? If you start with FMAA today, you will have passed your exam on March 31st at the latest. And let's say it takes a month or two for you to get your results and all of that. So let's say March, at the end of May, you have FMAA done. You have a piece of paper that says you are FMAA. If you started now for CMA, it's possible that you would not finish CMA until sometime in 2025. So yes, CMA will certainly provide more opportunities in your career than FMAA will. But if you're doing FMAA, I think that a lot of candidates for FMAA will not see that as their last certification. So what you are able to do is get FMAA in 5 months, 6 months. Get the benefit from that. Go to your employer, go to an interview and say, yes, this is who I am. This is what I already have. Piece of paper. I mean, it's done. This isn't, I'm in process, and if I pass an exam in the future, I will get it. I have it. I am done. Then after you do that, you can then turn your attention to CMA. Now, what you've done is you've delayed CMA by a couple of months. But in the meantime, you've gotten something that you're able to benefit from. Now, if you are already, you've passed part 1 for CMA, continue with part 2. Do not go back to FMAA. If you're studying part 1 and it's not, you say, wow, I really need a little bit more of a foundation. Well, then stop CMA, go do FMAA, and continue back then later for CMA. If you want to do that and you have CMA materials with Hawk, write us and let us know, and we'll just be able to switch your materials to FMAA for you. Okay, don't try to sort out what's on CMA and what's not on FMAA. Just write us. We'll switch your access so that you have only what it is that you need to study for the FMAA exam.
Okay, great, thank you. I don't know if we know this question or not, but I'll ask anyway.
Okay.
Since this is a multiple choice question exam, will the results be available immediately after finishing, or does it have to be reviewed and the scores will be released later, like the CMA exam?
My expectation is that in this first March window, they will not be available immediately. This is part of IMA's quality control to make certain that everything is working like they think it is and the questions are the right difficulty. So I would say for this March and probably for the July window, I don't think that the results would be available immediately. That may be something that in the future does happen once they have a lot more of the numbers and statistics and results to verify everything.
Great.
And
So
that's hopefully something IMA will be able to answer more specifically, but
you can register for their webinar and
yeah.
they'd be happy to answer that question in January. So one question I see quite a bit on here talks about maybe I don't want to do this self-study. I'm not ready to study by myself. Are there learning providers or groups available where this can be studied as well?
We know a number of the providers we work with for CMA have told us that they're going to start FMAA classes as well. And so I would expect that in the next week or two, they will start advertising this and they will start going out and letting candidates know that these courses are available. And so there may not be anybody right now whose website you can go to and sign up for an FMAA course, but I know that that will be happening. There will be providers that are providing live taught courses for FMAA.
Great. And if there are any providers that are interested
Yes.
in, please reach out to us. I'm happy to have a conversation with you about helping you get started. We have sent out some information about materials for that. A specific question I see is about the learning outcome statements. Is that posted on our website now, or will it be so they can students can find out the exact content?
I don't believe it is posted on our website right now. And we can see if we can post that or not. We'll make certain we can properly post that with permission.
Okay. If it's not on our website, then you can check out IMA's website.
I don't think it's there yet either, but yeah, I know it does exist and it's out there. I would imagine we can put it on, but we'll just make certain that we're able to do that.
Okay, great. There's a question about, since we have an international audience, there's a question about the bookkeeping that's taught. Does it follow US GAAP standards or IFRS?
I'm going to say that at that level, it doesn't follow US GAAP or IFRS. It follows debits and credits. The debits and credits doesn't get into depreciation methods or any of the areas that I know that there's differences between IFRS and US GAAP. So that bookkeeping, I don't think is one or the other. It's just debits and credits and how the mechanism as to how it is that they all work.
Okay. Let's see. I think we talked about this early on, but can you again talk about like what a study schedule might look like? How many hours total do you think that most people should prepare if they have basic accounting finance background? And like what would that look like in a week also if you break it down?
If we start with 100 hours as our starting point, there are 100 hours, or I'm sorry, 100 days between now and the end of March, I think, pretty close to 100 days. And so you're looking at 8-10 hours a week. What I recommend for anybody studying for an exam is that you make a schedule as to which 8 to 10 hours those are. And it really doesn't matter. It depends on who do you live with? Do you have kids? What activities your kids are in, what your work schedule is. But if you are able to find 4 days where you have a 2-hour block before work, after work, late in the evening, whatever the case may be, but I strongly encourage you to make a study schedule. I'm going to study Monday from 6 to 8. Might be 6 to 8 in the morning. It might be 6 to 8 in the evening. It doesn't matter, but set up that study schedule of when you're going to study each week. And that makes your entire life so much easier because you know when you're supposed to study, which means that the other times of the week, you don't have to worry about it. You're going to study Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday from 6 to 8. There's your 8 hours. Perfect. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, anytime outside of 6 to 8, you don't have to think about studying because you know that you have the time blocked. So your schedule will be different in terms of what days and what times, but make a study schedule, try to stick to that study schedule as much as possible each week. And that will be a huge help to managing the time, managing it, and enjoying the process without it hanging over your head all of the time.
Great, thank you. I think we probably have time for about 2 more questions. I don't know if there's any
Okay.
others on the list that were.
Give me the best.
So if they're already maintaining IMA membership for the CMA certificate, they already have CPEs. Will that CPE, if they also decided to do the FMAA, would the CPEs for the CMA also count towards the FMAA?
I can't speak for IMA about that, but I would assume it does, because it's still a CPE hour. And so, yes, but if you all, so I think the question is better if you start with FMAA and then get CMA, you only need to do one set of CPE. If you're already a CMA, I would recommend you take that 100 hours and invest it in something other than FMAA, because I don't think FMAA will provide a lot of value to you if you're already CMA.
Okay. This one's kind of a
Well,
question.
wait, let me do one more. If you're already a CMA and you're looking for 100 hours of time or an additional certification, don't do FMAA, do CSCA, the Certified Strategic and Competitive Analyst that IMA offers. If you're CMA or other professional certifications, you're eligible for CSCA. And if you're already CMA, CPA, ACCA, or CIMA, and you're looking for an additional certification, do CSCA. Okay, add up at the top of your certifications rather than down at the foundational level. So if you're already CMA, CM, whatever, CSCA. And yes, we have materials for CSCA. It's a subscription. Everything is there, and you can start studying CSCA today as well. But yeah.
This one's kind of a suggestion, not necessarily a question, but will there be more information available that might help people map their careers? So what would the FMAA certification, what kind of jobs might it lead to versus the CMA? Like, could we provide some more information in the future about what careers might be applicable to each?
Yeah, we can look into that. I would also, IMA has, I believe it's called Career Driver. IMA has a very sophisticated, very developed system of trying to plan out your career and what it is that you want to do and the steps, the things you need to know in order to get to the job that you want to have. And so I would recommend looking into that if you're looking for some detailed guidance. I don't know that FMAA is specifically included in that, but I think that would be a good career tool for you to look into. And I don't, Jim, do you remember the name of it? I want to say it's Career Driver, but I may be wrong about that. Yeah.
Great. I think that we are almost at our time. So if you would like to wrap up with any last statements, that would be great.
I see a question, does FMAA have any value in lists a country? But I think the thing that I would want to kind of end with is that, yes, it does. Right now, it's new. And so if you go out into the job market and you call a recruiting company or you call a local company and say, hey, I'm FMAA, will you hire me? They won't know what it is. It's new. That will change. Every day it will become more known, more webinars, more people will become aware of it. But you need to keep in mind that it is issued by IMA. And so when you say, I have this professional certification from IMA, then that has value. And you are learning things, you have skills, you have confirmation of those skills by taking FMAA, and that will help in your interview. That will help when you start sitting down with your supervisors and talking about promotions and what opportunities are available for you in the company. And so, yes, it has value. You will need to help build that value for others by becoming an FMAA and doing your job better than the people that are not FMAA. But it has value. IMA is behind it. IMA has value. And so absolutely, this will have value and it will continue to gain value because I'm confident and certain that this is going to become a very large certificate around the world, and it's going to become very popular with a lot of people having it. And so it will gain a lot of knowledge and recognition and acceptance in the job market.
Great. Thank you very much, Brian, for your time today. Thank you, everyone, for attending. We appreciate that you are part of our webinar. If your question wasn't answered, please feel free to visit our website, check out our FAQs. We'll post some after this webinar is complete, and we'll also send out a copy of this to you all. But we appreciate your time and wish you the best of luck on your certification journey. So thank you, everyone, for joining us. Enjoy the rest of your evening and day.
One moment here, and we have one more slide that I didn't share that I'm trying to. Hang on just a second. We've got our contact information there, and so I will put this up at the end.
See if the heart's coming on the screen.
There we go. We've got, so just send an email to support@hockinternational.com, visit our website, and we'll be happy to answer whatever questions it is that you have.
Perfect. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much.